afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Red Berry Wheel here, and welcome back to another wonderful video on leadership. Today, I don't know exactly what chapter it's covered in, but I'm going to be discussing communication. Why it's important, well, what it is, why it's important, and the different types that there are. So what is communication exactly? You can think about it to yourself, ask yourself, what is communication? It's not a hugely philosophical question, guys. But basically, it's the spread of information and ideas through auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and tactile means. What a wonderful definition that is. But what does that actually mean? Well, there are different types of communication. You might be familiar with the terms verbal and nonverbal communication. And any of those four things that I had mentioned, auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and tactile, they all basically fall into those different categories. So, auditory, like speaking to other people, that's what verbal is, okay? So it's relatively simple. There are different techniques to do verbal communication. There's like giving lectures, giving briefings, just having a one-on-one conversation, giving feedback to someone, just anything that you do where you're talking to the other person and they are listening to it, that is verbal communication. I'm going to briefly talk about the difference between hearing and listening. It's actually one of my favorite lessons when I was teaching more leadership classes a few years ago. And basically, hearing is when the sound waves come into your ears and go through the sound auditory system in your head. Listening is when you take meaning and you remember that. You learn from it. You get something out of the message that is being broadcasted to you. Because communication is a two-way street. It's not just someone talking at you. I know there are some classes out there where you're sitting there and the teacher just is so boring. They talk in the same monotone voice the entire class. And it's very boring because you are very interested about the topic, but you're just so tired because you stayed up really late last night and it's not very interesting that you have to be in class right now. We want to make sure that we're always listening and doing our best to make sure that we understand what the speaker's meaning is. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about nonverbal communication. There are a ton of different ways that communication can be nonverbally given. For example, here's a few things that you see right now in the video. My facial expressions, just watching a video, my hand movements, my hand gestures, all of these are different nonverbal ways. There's also written text. So at the bottom of the video, you can see the description, you can see the title of the video, probably like Civil Air Patrol Learn to Lead Communication Skills, yay! And then you'll also see the channel name and the number of views and all that information. That is all non-verbal communication. Now, there are a few different written ways that you may really need to use non-verbal communication. So, emails, those you normally want to put in a little bit of time and effort, and I can go over etiquette of emails if you want. Just let me know if you're interested in the description down below. There's also like text messages and social media posts. Like, those are all nonverbal forms of communication. Making sure you come off as respectful when you conduct nonverbal communication is very important. Now, I'm going to mention something about facial expressions for nonverbal communication, hand gestures, and all that jazz. If you're ever doing a professional interview, like if you're going in to do your first job, I would recommend keeping your hand gestures to a minimum and making sure that you keep a normally neutral to positive face no matter what you're experiencing. Man, I want to talk about like interview stuff. We could do that for another video. Interview tips are really good and really helpful. I might actually do that for a video. So why is communication important? I don't know. Why is it important? I'm kidding, really. Communication is important because you want to make sure that everyone is on the same page about a specific thing. So I mentioned the auditory, visual, tactile, and kinesthetic means. That's the way that you're delivering the communication. But the importance of communication is making sure that anyone who's involved with whatever is going on is on the same page, that you get confirmation messages. If you are writing an agenda for a squadron meeting and you say what the uniform of the day is, then you want to make sure that everyone understands that the uniform of the day, or the UOD, is polo shirt, for example. I don't know. Maybe you wear polos. Who knows? So it's just to make sure that everyone understands what's going on. So this is just like a quick video that I've been meaning to do, because communication is very important. And it's important because you want to make sure that your message is clear, you want to make sure it's concise, and that people understand what you are trying to say. Alright, so if you have any questions for me about communication, any tips or tricks, I've got a few of them, so feel free to ask in the comments down below. So that does it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and that was all, folks. Until next time.